Welcome to Auto Barn Collision Center and questions most asked by our customers. We're going to do some segments on different questions and answer them for you based on the questions we've been asked over the years. And they'll range from anything from how to take care of your paint, to corrosion on your vehicle, to the process of repairing your vehicle from start to finish. Okay, let's get started on the products that we use to wax that finish on your vehicle. First of all, we're going to start right from the beginning, and that is wash your car. Wash your car out of the sun. Use a car soap. Don't use the stuff that's in your kitchen to wash your pots and pans, and a good mitt to wash your vehicle. After you get the car washed, look it over. If you have any tar, bugs, tree sap that you want to try to get off, now's the time to do it. You can get a little small pad here, which is a little bit of corrugation, and a bug and tar remover. That'll help tremendously to get it off. Then you're going to wipe your vehicle off. We're going to recommend this absorber. It works great. It's a synthetic chamois, but it lasts forever basically, as long as you keep it in this tube, keep it moist. And then just when you think you're all done cleaning, we're going to recommend that you use a clay bar kit to get any rail dust off your vehicle. Rail dust is something that comes from a railroad track, and the wheels, some of the metal comes off from the wheels and sticks to the finish when the finish is warm, and it will stay there until you use this clay bar. On a white car, you'll actually see it. It looks like a small rust spot. We have customers that come in and say, geez, I got rust coming through my paint, and it's not. It's actually on their paint. It's the iron part of the metal that is stuck to the paint. This will take it off. You want to do that before you wax it, because if not, you're going to wax that little chunk of steel right into the finish. Okay. Now that you've done that, check it over if you got any light scratches on it. If you have any areas that are a little discolored from maybe something sitting on it, bird droppings, you're going to want to use a fine cutting polish on a compound. You want to use a polish. Most vehicles are base coat, clear coat. The clear does get affected by a very harsh compound, so you definitely want to use something safe for clear coats. And this is the brand that we use. There's a lot of good quality waxes out there that you can use, not necessarily this brand, but this is what we use in our shop. And then of course wax. Wax is very important because you want to buy a good quality pure wax without cleaners in it. The cleaners are there to skip a step, and that's usually just because you want to get it done quicker. And it does do it quicker, but keep in mind you're going to have to do it once every couple months, where this may last that same 6 months period versus 2 months. So in the long run, it is easier to do this. And you're going to notice that when the vehicle stops beating water, that means the pores are opened up again and the wax is gone. Now it's time to re-wax your vehicle. So stay tuned. We're actually going to do a demonstration and show you how this is done. Okay, let's get started. We've got this hood that we're going to do a demonstration on, show you how we do everything. First of all, we're going to rinse the hood off well with water. We're going to wash it with a good car mitt. Makes a big difference on how well the soap stays on the surface while you're washing it. Keeps it lubricated a little bit better. After we wash it, we're going to want to dry it off. I'm going to recommend these absorbers. They work fantastic. Better than a chamois because they don't seem to disintegrate as quickly as a chamois does. So at that point, you just dry it off. And we're going to talk about this a few times, is try to dry it off with the grain of the vehicle, which is from front to back. That's a natural way the vehicle is going to get scratched because of the wind blowing by it. And if you leave the scratches natural, even if they're there, they're not as noticeable. Okay, so we got that all dried off. And then the next thing we're going to do is make sure there's no bugs on the surface. we're going to actually use a bug remover. We're going to spray it on the front, and we're going to use a bug sponge, which you can see has got perforations in it. Will not scratch your finish though. After we do that, we're going to look it over now. Keep in mind that if you have chips on your finish, now's the time you want to try to address those chips, because once you get the wax over it, paint's not going to stick to those chips, and those chips are going to get filled with polish. Makes it next impossible to get that finish to stick. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is something that most people don't even realize needs to be done, is to take any rail dust on the vehicle off. Rail dust is something that comes from railroad tracks. It's a common problem in our area, and you really can't see it unless you have a white vehicle. A white vehicle, it shows up as little rust spots, and if you feel them real careful, you can actually feel that chunk of iron that's stuck to the finish, and it usually sticks when it's hot out. The paint is hot, and that hot metal sticks to it, and it stays on it. So what we're going to do is use a high pH level cleaner. Now, you can use 409. There's a lot of high pH level cleaners out there. Fantastic. That also works well. And you're just going to spray it on as a lubricant. And then you're going to just take the clay and you're going to go back and forth. And you're actually going to feel, in a lot of cases, you're going to feel that little chunk of steel. And it's going to pop off. And it's going to actually stick to the clay. So you're going to do the whole vehicle like this. Make sure you do have that lubricant on there. You don't want to do this dry because it won't work. And if you buy the kit, it comes with all the necessary stuff to do it. And again, go with the grain of the card, just in case there's, you make a little scratch in it. You're not going to see it. And then, of course, dry that off. Now once you have that all done, look the finish over, make sure that it looks good, and make sure there's not any scratches, chips. If there's light scratches, you can actually polish those out with a fine polish. We are going to use a battery powered polishing tool. You can do it by hand, a little more difficult. Keep in mind, don't try to use a compound on a clear coat finish, because it's not going to work. It's going to damage the finish, it's going to dull the finish. The polishes that we use are recommended for clear coat finishes. So we've got a cutting polish. It's a fine cutting polish, and that's going to be great for small scratches. So if you got any kind of scratch on it, you're going to, in this case, we're going to put it right on this pad. You got to always put it on the hood. You're going to move it around a little bit, and you're just going to work that scratch until it's gone. But keep in mind, if that scratch, if you can feel it with your fingernail, you're not going to get it out, because the scratch is so deep that it's probably down into the color coat. And not necessarily through the color coat, but to try to get that film build, which is the clear coat, which is approximately 2/millionths of an inch off, you're going to damage the finish. You might not see it now, but in a year or so, the ultraviolet will actually turn the color a different color. Okay, so now we have that. We got a finish that's pretty well spotless. Again, at this point, now's the time to get that touch-up paint out and get it touched up. Make sure if you use a touch-up paint that you let it dry thoroughly. We're normally going to recommend you take a touch-up paint from a dealer. Go to the dealer, they can give you the right color for that vehicle. At that point, it's going to help protect that chip that maybe could cause rust. And then, of course, the last step is the wax. The wax in almost all cases, you're just as well to put it on by hand. Never mind getting some fancy machinery. So what you're going to do is, first of all, make sure the wax is stirred up well. Put it on a pad. And a cream wax versus a paste wax, really no difference. All preference, what you like doing, what you think is easier, because most people hate waxing their cars. And if you look at the manufacturer, they're going to tell you that you should be waxing your car every 6 months, clear coat or not. People think clear coats are the answer to all. They're not. Clear is just paint without a pigment in it, which means that it can get damaged just like a colored paint will. There's pores in the finish, and those pores are what cause damage to the finish. As the chemicals goes down into the pore, it starts to eat away at the edges of that pore and eventually will damage that finish. So when you wax the car, and you've heard people say, well, the water beads up. Yes, absolutely. That's why it beads up, because those pores are full. They're full of wax. Wax does not sit, for the most part, on the top of the finish. Wax sits in all the pores of the finish, and there's millions of them. And then wipe that wax off. And keep in mind, I know this seems like a lot, but believe me, as a painter, to paint that car, to paint this hood alone, is $700 to $900 just to paint this hood. So you can imagine what a whole car would cost to paint. Crazy. It's crazy. Now, I mean, you can see the difference. You can feel how the difference is between this and this. This is smooth. Almost a rag would slide off of it. It's so smooth. And this, you can actually feel a drag on it. So that is the determining factor when you say, when do I need to wax my car? Is when you put water on that car and it doesn't beat up anymore, it's time to wax it again. I know we don't like waxing our car, but believe me, it does make a difference in the long run. Now, I've got a little demonstration here, and this just kind of shows you, this being a top clear coat of your finish, this being a scratch, large scratch, small scratch. You've got clear coat of approximately 2/millionths of an inch. You've got a color coat, which is about half that or less. And then you've got a sealer primer coat that's even less than that. So as you sand this finish down, once you get past that 2 mils, then you're looking at paints that could actually turn colors as they age. These represent pores in the finish, and that's what you're filling. Now, in order to get this scratch out, you'd have to sand all the way down into here, or polish all the way down into here to get it out. Of course, at that point, you've damaged the finish. This one being as small as it is, you could actually sand this one out. But if you run your thumbnail over it and you can feel it, chances are you're not getting it out, and we're not even going to recommend you try. So, with that, we're going to go to the next video, but keep in mind, if you have any questions, you can always call us, Auto Barn Collision Center, and we'll try to answer any questions you have. Thank you.